Of the coming of men into the west, I was born far from the bright courts of the Eldar, eastward beyond the familiar contours of Beleriand, where the land still felt young and uncertain, as if it had not yet decided what it wished to become. There the wind carried a different cadence, quicker, more restless, and beneath it I felt a pulse I had never known among my own kind. It was the heartbeat of men, newly come into the long story of Arda, fragile yet burning with a fierce immediacy that stirred even the deep memory of the world. They moved westward, not as conquerors, nor yet as wanderers without purpose, but as a people pressed onward by something half feared and half hoped for. Darkness lay behind them, thick and unspoken. I felt it in their glances over the shoulder, in the way mothers drew children close when the night wind rose. They did not yet name Morgoth, but they knew shadow, and they fled it with the instinct of prey that has learned the scent of the hunter. Foremost among them walked Beor the Old. Though old, he was only by the count of his own people, his face lined more by care than by years. His bearing was grave, his speech measured, and in him lived the weary strength of one who carries not only his own life, but the lives of many. Around him his folk clustered, trusting in his judgment, though he himself often looked westward with an expression that was part resolve and part question, as if asking the land whether it would receive them or break them. It was then, in the green twilight of Osiriand, that the paths of elves and men first truly crossed in friendship. Finrod Felagund came upon them not in splendor, but quietly, as was his way, his harp slung across his back, his steps light upon the forest floor. In the dream, I felt his curiosity first, keen and gentle, and then his wonder, for here at last were the second-born, of whom the Valor had spoken little and foretold less. He watched them for a time before revealing himself, listening to their speech, rough-hewn yet earnest, shaped by need more than by beauty. And when he stepped into their sight, there was fear among the men at first, for they had never seen one of the Eldar, and the light in Finrod's eyes seemed to them almost like fire. Yet he raised his hands in peace, and his voice, when he spoke, was soft and clear, carrying neither command nor threat. "You have come far," he said, and though they did not yet know his tongue, the meaning reached them all the same. "And farther still lies before you, but you are not alone in these lands." Beor answered him after a moment, bowing his head not in submission but in respect, and Finrod, perceiving the strength and dignity in the old man, named him friend then and there in his heart. In that exchange, so quiet it might have been missed by any chronicler of wars, I felt the first true binding of elves and men, a bond not forged by oath or blood, but by recognition. From that meeting, the Edain took shape more clearly in the dream, as rivers divide and find their own courses. I saw the house of Beor settle for a time in Estelad, learning the Sindarin tongue swiftly, for they were eager of mind and quick to adapt, their loyalty fierce once given. They listened closely to Finrod's teaching, not only of words and ways, but of history, of the Valar, and of the long war that lay like a storm waiting beyond the horizon. In them I sensed endurance, the kind that does not boast, but persists even when hope thins. The house of Haleth I saw moving more warily, less inclined to trust either elf or stranger. They were a people shaped by loss, their numbers thinned by attack, their leader a woman of iron will whose gaze did not falter before kings or shadows. Haleth walked among her folk with spear in hand, speaking little, watching much. She accepted aid when it was offered, but never yielded command, and in her I felt a pride that would not bow, even to the Eldar. Some among the elves found this troubling. Others, including Finrod, understood it as strength born of necessity. The house of Hador came last into the western tale, yet they arrived with a presence that filled the land. They were tall, golden-haired, loud in speech and quick to laughter, their courage often running ahead of caution. They delighted in tales of battle and heroism, and though still untested, They carried themselves as if already measuring the world for the mark they would leave upon it. To them, the Noldor seemed not distant powers, but models to emulate, and they learned eagerly, sometimes too eagerly, the arts of war and lordship. Among all these houses, I felt the slow weaving of alliances, not without strain. Men marveled at the patience of elves, mistaking it at times for coldness, while elves, watching men age and sicken and die within the span of a few seasons, felt a quiet grief that had no name. When Beor at last laid himself down and passed from the world, not by violence or sorrow, but simply by the ending of his allotted years, Finrod stood long beside his body in silence. "So swift," Finrod murmured, not knowing I heard him, "and yet so full." The men did not weep as the elves expected. They mourned, yes, but with a steadiness that unsettled the Eldar, as if they accepted death not as defeat, but as a road appointed. In that moment I felt the true weight of the gift of men, terrible and beautiful, a mystery even the valor had not fully unveiled. Their lives burned brighter for their brevity, and every choice seemed sharpened by the knowledge that there would not be time to amend all regrets. Yet not all was harmony. In the outer edges of the dream, I felt Morgoth's malice stirring. Orcs crept southward, and whispers followed the Edain, sowing doubt. Some among men wondered whether the elves were masters in disguise, whether their light hid a deeper dominion. A few turned away, slipping back eastward, and Finrod let them go, sorrowful but unwilling to bind free wills with force. "We may guide," he said once to Angrod, when the matter troubled him, "but we must not claim them. Their fate is not ours to command." Thus men came into the West not as a single moment, but as a slow unfolding, a mingling of hope and fear, courage and uncertainty. They built, they learned, they fought beside the Noldor against the creeping shadow, and in doing so they altered the balance of the world. Watching it all from the veil of the dream, I felt the quiet certainty that nothing afterward would be the same. For with men came not only new strength, but new sorrow, and new stories whose endings even the wisest could not foresee. And beneath it all ran a deeper current, almost imperceptible, the sense that the world itself leaned closer, listening. A new voice had joined the great music, untrained and mortal, yet fierce with longing. And though its notes were brief, they would echo longer than many of the songs sung by the deathless, shaping the fate of Beleriand and all the ages that would follow.